All right, now we are going to talk about my favorite new toy, which is the resonator or my head or your head. And the reason I call it favorite new toy is because in the last couple of months, I've been doing some last minute research and studying to prepare for creating these courses. And I discovered some new things especially about the jaw, but about this whole kind of piece of the instrument together. That once I became aware of these moving parts in greater detail and developed some ability to isolate them in their different positions, to control them and feel and hear the sounds they make, I then took that, applied it to my existing workouts that I do, and it just made me so much more intelligent as a student and in my workouts, that it just took my improvement to a whole new level. And it's great. It's still going on. I mean, every day I'm a little better than the day before. And every couple of weeks, I feel like I jump to a whole new plateau of ability. And so it's very satisfying, and it makes all of this hard work so much more fun. And so of these, I told you that there were two things that'll be in this course that I had learned in my 2 years that have completely transformed my training and helped me to grow fast. One was the false vocal folds from the last section. And in this section, it's going to be the jaw. We're going to learn, and really the soft palate as well. But the jaw was the big thing that I was talking about that I had no idea. I mean, I know what the jaw is. I didn't know what the false vocal folds were. I didn't even know I had them. So sometimes just becoming aware of a part within the instrument that's critical helps a lot. But sometimes you have a part like the jaw you just kind of take for granted. You don't realize that you might be using it improperly. And that was my problem, is my jaw. And it ends up that up to maybe, well, I'll talk about this in the jaw video. Okay, so I want to do, as we introduce this instrument as a whole, I want to do another little exercise of the imagination, because this is so fascinating, this resonation chamber that we all have at the top of our body. So what I want you to do is imagine the top of the line best make and model of all the different acoustic instruments we play. So like a Stradivarius violin, maybe a Steinway grand piano, a Taylor or a Gibson acoustic guitar, or some other even better model, and as well as wind instruments, woodwinds. But just imagine the best quality of all these different types of instruments, cellos, contrabass. And what do the resonation chambers of all those instruments have in common? What do they have in common? Well, what they have in common is they don't move. They're fixed. You know, it's made somewhere, and you use it in its original state for the life of that instrument. Some of them may have one or two things you can do to sort of adjust how they resonate, but for the most part, they're very fixed and solid. So as a musician, we're really playing the first two parts of the instrument. We're playing the part that's the equivalent of here, the air pressure or the aerator, which is basically the energy or the source of energy that causes something to vibrate. So if it's a string that vibrates, or a reed that vibrates, you have something that causes the vibration, and then you have the vibrating part, which would be the equivalent to the vocal folds. So as musicians, when we play these instruments, we're almost entirely focused on these first two parts, and the resonation chamber is fixed. So we're trying to send the best quality tone that we can into a fixed resonation chamber, and then it just does what it does, and we don't have a lot of control over that. Well, now imagine the human head as an instrument, as this part, the resonation chamber of an instrument. Well, what's so amazing about it is it's got so many moving parts, and then even those moving parts, they can be relaxed and be soft, they can be active and firm. It's not even like something you can switch on and off. The jaw can be fully open or fully closed, and anywhere in between. The tongue can take on 1,000 different shapes and positions. As we spoke a bit in the last section, the soft palate or the back of the roof of your mouth can be fully up, it can be fully down, and anywhere in between. all these muscles around the head and face, which are somehow, some ways connected to some of the tissue and cartilage and bone inside the head, they can be put in a lot of different positions as well. So when you think about it, the head as a resonation chamber needs to be played. You can't just let it be like the body of a violin. You actually have, if you want to develop mastery and skill and control over this instrument, you need to learn how to play that. You can't play it with your fingers. But imagine if each of your 10 fingers were connected to a muscle or some part of all these different things that can move in your head so that you could play it and control it like a puppet master. You wouldn't even have enough fingers to play all the moving parts, because the soft palate actually has, I believe, about 6 muscles above it that control its movement. So what we're talking about here is we're learning to play the individual parts within the resonation chamber, but there's a way that also in a bigger picture is that they can all be active. They sometimes move in the same direction. They're very complementary of each other. Or if you move one of them in the wrong direction, they all move in the wrong direction. If you move one or two of them to the positions that they need to be in, either to start a phrase or during a phrase, usually the other parts will move with them as well. That's what we're going to train to do. So what I want to discuss in this section is we're going to break the moving parts of the resonator into 5 categories. Okay, and we're going to discuss them in separate videos in this order. We're going to go through the soft palate, which we talked about before, the soft palate, which is also called the velum, and it's the back of the roof of your mouth. It tends to go up and down. We're going to talk about the tongue and lips. So the tongue takes on all kinds of shapes. The lips generally, they either go wide or they go narrow, like you pucker like a fish, or bring them way out like a big flat smile. Then we'll talk about the jaw, and this is where we're going to learn what I learned recently that is just can't even describe how great it is now to train and to sing with my jaw moving the way it's supposed to. And then we'll finish by discussing all the head and neck and face muscles all kind of together in one section. Then we'll wrap up. We might do some exercises at the end that bring it all together. So we'll do one more section on after we discuss everything individually, where we bring it all together and talk about how we can activate this resonator at the start of each phrase and maintain that good activation through the end of the phrase. Okay, so that's going to be this whole section on how to play the resonator. Okay, so let's move on to discussing the soft palate.